Hey church, it's Ian. Hopefully here to encourage you as you start your week. And I just want to share a few thoughts with you. This is a very unformatted, raw, probably not edited video that I'm making. And hopefully, like I said, this will encourage you as you start your week. I had this thought as I was reading through the Gospels. I got into Luke and was reading through chapter 1. And this verse really caught my attention. It's Luke chapter 1, verse 15. Right after Zechariah is told that he and his wife will have a son after she had struggled with barrenness for so long. This is the verse that is spoken about John. It says in Luke chapter 1, verse 15, it says, "As far as the Lord is concerned, he will be a great man." I don't know what you think initially when you hear that verse, but for me, it really causes me to question my idea of what greatness is. And I know that, in a society and the age we live in, there's so many different ways to define what it is to be great. You could have a following on social media, you could have several people that you mentor, and depending on, your standard of success, greatness looks different to all of us. What I thought was interesting was the fact that the wording says, as far as the Lord is concerned, he will be great, which makes me believe, and what we eventually will see in John's life, is there are so many people who did not consider John to be a great man. He was a wild man who lived out in the wilderness, and most people thought he was crazy. But according to the Lord, John was great. We see conversations that happen between the disciples and Jesus in Luke chapter 9, where they begin to ask, who's going to be the greatest out of all of us? And I can only imagine the conversations that they probably had frequently concerning their giftings, their talents, their skills, their education, their training. They probably went back and forth bickering about who was going to be the greatest as they started this journey and traveled along with Jesus. And I have to look at the way that he addresses them, and he says this, he says, "The one who is least among all of you is the one who will be the greatest." And then I think about verses like what's said in Matthew chapter 5. And I'll read it verbatim for you. It says, be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. I don't know, again, what you're feeling after hearing that verse, but for me, that's a daunting task to attempt to be perfect just as God is perfect. And I think that verse is included in Scripture not because God expects that we'll be perfect or that he expects us to be like him. Actually, we see what happens when angels try to be like God. And obviously, we don't want to go that route. But this idea of becoming perfected in our faith and trying to be more like God is what allows us to be great. So this verse about being perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect, it's really less about actually being as perfect as God is, and more about embracing the reality that we just have to be humble, because there's no way that we could ever attain the perfection of God. And so when I consider again this verse that we started out with, where it talks about John and his greatness, and that according to the Lord, he will be great. What is it maybe that hinders you from believing that you're great? Is it some false expectation, some standard you've embrace that society's placed on you? Is it a gender role? There's so many different things that we use as the basis of greatness. And what I want to encourage you with is that being great is not that complicated. It's not that hard. All we have to do to be great is be more like Jesus, to embrace humility and to understand that every day in all that we do, we need Jesus. I hope that this week you take a few moments every day and ask the Lord to help you make yourself more like him. Embrace humility. Be okay with not being perfect, and understand that not being perfect, but attempting to be more like Jesus, you can attain a level of greatness that otherwise you'd not be able to. I love you. I hope you have a great week, and I hope this encouraged you.